Having an astrology reading can feel like a whimsical luxury, something we do for fun or curiosity or a little reassurance about what's coming next. But history tells a different story. Kings, queens, and emperors didn't make major decisions without consulting astrologers. So why should it be any different today? My guest today, Alexandra, and I forgot to ask how to pronounce your surname.
Oh, Cheho.
Cheho. Well, I wouldn't have guessed that. Alexandra Ceho has been immersed in astrology since childhood and has spent the past 20 years in professional practice. She's a master of astrology, martial arts, and Hermetic philosophy, and an international instructor with the Modern Mystery School. Alexandra works with entrepreneurs and executives who she calls today's new monarchy, helping them anticipate cycles, prepare for pivotal moments, and make decisions with real foresight. And today, she'll be sharing how astrology can be used as a strategic tool for leadership and taking aligned action. I called you Alex. I referred to you as Alex. I hope that's
That's
okay.
fine. That's totally fine.
That was presumptuous of me. And
It
I
all works
forgot to
out.
ask how to pronounce your name, but we got there. Cheho. That's an interesting name. Where did that come? Where does that come from?
So it's actually Serbian.
Oh, okay.
So I'm half German, half Serbian,
Oh, okay.
and
In Toronto.
so yeah, in Toronto.
Cool. Have you lived there all your life, or did you move from
I was born
Serbia?
here.
Okay, cool. All right. I would love for you to kick us off with obviously, we'd love to know a bit more about you and your journey with astrology and the Hermetic principles. Can you give us a little history lesson as well? Throw that in there about just how astrology has been used, in ancient times and its relevance today.
I love it. I love it when I get to talk history.
Cool.
So, well, I guess I can start with my own history.
Yeah.
So I started studying astrology. I was probably about 5 or 6 years old.
Oh,
My
wow.
grandfather was an amateur astrologer. And so I was very lucky that I would go to my grandparents' place and I would go and take my grandfather's astrology books off the shelf. And along with it being about astrology, one particular book he had also contained Greek mythology in relation to the zodiac signs. So every time I would go and steal the books off the shelf. I would go into the guest bedroom. There were plenty of snacks there. And so I would just immerse myself in a book and snacks. And
Oh.
I would read about the Greek gods and goddesses, Athena and Zeus and
Mm.
Ares and Aphrodite. And I fell in love with their stories. And there was just something that really resonated on a very deep level for me. And it never went away. As I got older, it really stuck with me. So around the age of 10, I actually learned how to cast my own chart using an ephemeris. Um, well, a lot of times I would sit there with my grandfather's astrology books and a dictionary to help me understand words that I wasn't familiar with yet. Made me an excellent reader, by the way. So as I grew older, of course, my journey with astrology continued. I call astrology my first love.
Mm.
And I would go to the library, I would pull out whatever books were there. I also was traversing the early GeoCities pages of the internet, if you remember those, taking ourselves back into history. And uh, uh, around the age of 19 or 20, I actually stumbled on the Modern Mystery School. And so this is an international school that teaches lineage teachings from King Solomon and goes
Oh.
into Hermetic philosophy. So I began as a student and ended up becoming a practitioner. And then because I've been so passionate through the years, I've been lucky enough to become an international instructor, and I travel all over the world teaching um, astrology as well as spiritual martial arts. It's really amazing, actually. Now, let's talk astrological history because that's even more interesting. So, um, What most people don't understand is just how old astrology is.
Mm.
I find it kind of interesting because most people's concept of astrology is simply zodiac signs.
Yeah.
And, like we were talking about earlier, that really happened with the infiltration of mass marketing to bring astrology to others. And I partly understand why, because not everybody necessarily had the ability to access their full natal chart like we do today. It's so easy. You just pop on to the internet, you enter your birth information, and, bada bing, bada boom, there it is.
Yeah.
But back then they didn't necessarily have it. So I understand. But that being said, astrology is thousands of years old,
Yeah.
thousands. And there's differing sources as to how astrology originated on the planet, but being a Hermetic philosopher and having consulted what I consider to be some of the oldest astrological texts, they sing praises to Hermes Trismegistus. And Hermes Trismegistus was this philosopher. And there's varying accounts as to when he lived. In the lineage that I work with, Hermes is said to have lived 6 to 8 thousand years ago. And his teachings traveled up through Africa. Now, Hermes was the father of alchemy, astrology, and theurgy, which was ritual magic.
Okay. Where
And
did he
the
live?
te
Where did he
well,
hail from?
from what I understand, he actually originated in South Africa,
Oh, right.
and his teachings traveled up through Africa.
Hmm.
And in particular, astrology was the big component that traveled up through Africa, alongside alchemy, actually. And it ended up in Egypt. And when it was in Egypt, it actually blended with a separate line of astrology that was started by the Sumerians.
Okay.
So when most people think about the origins of astrology, if they've done any kind of research, usually they go back to the Sumerians
Hmm.
because they were the ones who had their eyes on the sky. So in Egypt, there was this merging and blending of both the Sumerian and Hermetic teachings. And that was what the ancient Greeks took and brought back into their mystery schools.
Okay.
So one thing that people also don't understand about astrologers back then is they were some of the most educated people on the planet.
Mm.
See, today, like I said earlier, it's so easy to just enter your birth information and up pops a chart,
Yep.
right? The computer does all the mathematics. But back then, you had to be somebody really important to have a chart cast for you.
Okay.
Because an astrologer had to do all the mathematics, calculate the angles, figure out where the planets were in the sky, and chart all of that. So an astrologer needed to know mathematics, obviously, a little bit of physics as well. They had to be literate because there were books that you needed to read, right? They studied so many things. They studied the cycle of the wheel of the year. They studied the moon cycles. They studied all of these things. So when you were consulting an astrologer back then, this was someone who was highly educated, highly intelligent. And I find it a bit perplexing today that people look at astrologers as someone who is well, not intelligent or what's another gullible.
Gullible, right. Yeah, who
Like if
like to
you,
believe in the stars kind of thing.
yeah, like people will look at you with disdain sometimes, and it's like
Okay.
I don't think you understand what the original purpose of astrology was.
Mm.
Because if we go back to the original teachings of Hermes himself, astrology was part of a pathway back home to your divinity.
Mm. I love that.
It truly was about full human development, full human potential. there's many teachings of Hermes. There's this beautiful book called the Corpus Hermeticum, or the Hermetica, and there's so much that he talks about, and again, like I'm talking 6 to 8 thousand years ago,
Mm.
but so much of it is still relevant today, and I wish that these teachings were more prevalent and available on the planet, because there's so much, I guess I could say, personal pain that people could avoid, as well as like larger social issues that we could solve using the teachings of Hermetics.
Right. Yeah. I've got the Kybalion. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, yeah,
Which is
written by
just
three initiates.
a little handbook, really, handbook for life. But yeah, some of the principles in there, I'll have to go back and reread it. I haven't read it for a while, but it's just so logical, isn't it? It just makes so much sense. Simple and logical, but deep wisdom as well.
Absolutely. And those seven Hermetic principles that are spoken about in the Kybalion, those are the forces behind reality.
Mm,
Those are the forces that manifest everything. And when we work with those principles, life is so much easier. But we have two problems as humanity. I don't know if I should say call them problems necessarily, but I'm going to call them problems. One is we have the ability to go against the flow,
mm,
right? So we have the ability to work against these forces. We call that free will. Two, we're all recovering amnesiacs. Some of us recovering better than others.
okay, so it's like when you come in, you forget your divinity, and the journey through life is to recover that.
Absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. Now, some of us go on a quest and
yeah.
seek that divinity out, and then others might be a little bit more forgetful. That their amnesiac state is a little deeper.
Mm,
But the beautiful thing is that every one of us, no matter how deeply ingrained that amnesiac state is, has the ability to overcome it, and to remember our divinity, and also what we mean to each other.
mm,
No one of us is more divine than another. That is a truth about humanity. The problem is, in our amnesiac state, we harm ourselves, we harm other people. We don't live in harmony with the universe itself, and we suffer as a result of that.
mm. Thank you. That was a great introduction. Um, compelling. And, as I mentioned, I'm a fledgling astrologer, so just studied for 12 months last year. So very fresh. But yeah, there's a deep knowing, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So your work is pretty cool from what I can gather, because you're really returning to this ancient practice. You've been doing it for a long time, but you've returned to this ancient practice in order to support business, leadership, entrepreneurship, people making big decisions about life changing life changing experiences
Yeah.
using astrology and hermetic principles. That's like awesome. So cool. Can you kind of give us a big picture of how that works? Like, yeah, just
Yeah.
kick us off with that,
Yeah.
and I'll have questions, no
Uh,
doubt.
I hope you don't mind. I'd like to start with a little bit of a why.
Okay, yep.
So, but because people are like, well, business isn't spiritual.
Mm,
And I would actually like to challenge that. So first of all, Nadine, when when it comes to creating a business, you are literally engaging in the art of manifestation.
mm,
And building a business is perhaps one of the things that is going to challenge and stretch your being in so many ways. You learn about yourself in the face of experience. And part of why I love working with entrepreneurs and even executives who are making big decisions is because they're in this capacity of being stretched.
Mm.
And I'll be honest with you, I love supporting people who are stretched by taking on positive challenge. And I personally find that very rewarding and very fulfilling. And that's one of my whys. My second why is because there are so many people out there who have incredible gifts to serve and share with the world. And sometimes they have the craving and the desire to be out there, and they just need the right support. Today, business oligarchies, there's so many of them. Like I think about here in Canada, if you have a cell phone, likely you're one of with one of three providers.
Right.
That's it, three providers. And I I truly feel that it is so important for people to be able to have ownership of their gifts and abilities
Mm.
and to create in and of themselves. And so that's my other why, because there's a lot of incredibly talented people, people with amazing ideas, and business is how they take that service, they take those ideas, and they put them into the world to make it better. So those are my whys. Now the how. So the how is really fun. So like I mentioned, Nadine, astrology, or sorry, uh, owning or building a business really is about the art of manifestation.
Mm.
And like I said, it it really is a face to face with yourself. Every business owner, will be able to speak to those moments where they've encountered a personal failing and it has shown up in their business. But also they've encountered these beautiful moments where their strengths, gifts, talents, and areas of wisdom have gotten them something amazing. And so when I work with my clients, the first thing that I do is I always work with the natal chart. I need to understand who I'm working with.
Mm.
I need to understand how I can serve them. And they also need to have that understanding of themselves. And it's kind of interesting because a lot of times in working with my clients, that natal chart reading actually becomes, I guess I could say, a source of healing for them. Because a lot of times when I speak to them, my goal as an astrologer is for people to be able to say, I was that way. That was in my past. I have learned, I have grown. And so when I do the natal chart reading for my clients to begin with, one, it gives me a baseline
Yep.
and I know who I'm working with, where they need support when it comes to forecasting. And then two, it's also very healing for them because they get to see how far they've come. And they also get um, exposed to their light.
Mm.
So many times, my clients have gifts, talents, abilities that they have taken for granted or dismissed as normal. Oh, anybody can do that.
Mm.
No, not anybody can do that. And so when they start to recognize it as qualities of their light, then they begin to see themselves in a different way, which is so important. It's hard to manifest a business when you're constantly harping on yourself for what you perceive to be personal failures. And the second piece to the work that I do with my clients involves forecasting.
Mm.
And forecasting is where it gets fun because all of the planets that we speak about in astrology and how they apply to our own personal natal charts also have direct applications to a business too. So to give you an example, Mercury, who
Mm-hmm.
governs over our mind and communication, how we learn, well, Mercury also applies to a business. And so Mercury speaks to things like marketing,
Okay.
communications, also technology, right?
Mhm.
And so when I'm working with my clients, let's say that they have some nice upcoming transit of Jupiter to Mercury. Well, that is a really good time to double down on your advertising, to get yourself positive press and media, to put your name out there, right? If you have any opportunities to get on stages or be seen, those are things that are going to support the business, and it's great timing for it. So even if it's not necessarily part of your goal in that moment, take advantage because it's something that will pay off later, right? Whereas let's take Saturn as an alternative example.
Mm.
In a business, Saturn governs over resources, but he also now, so if you're a product-based business, that's very important, right? Um, but he also governs over key activities and daily structures and routines that support the business. So, to give you an example, let's say that the business has Saturn square Saturn. It's been open long enough, uh, you know,
Okay.
uh,
Yeah.
give or take 7 years at this point, 7.5 years. So Saturn's making a square to itself. Well, this is a really great time to review all of those structures and processes, to revisit the resources that are part of your product if you're a product-based business, and to make sure that you have what you need for long-term viability. So a lot of times when a business is experiencing this kind of aspect, I talk to them about looking at alternative suppliers and having backups just in case, revisiting your systems and structures and processes. Is it time to upgrade software or to acquire new machinery, or whatever it is that you need. And this is where I have so much fun with my clients, because every one of them has areas where their perspective is strong and they're really on the ball. And then there's other areas where it's like, oh, you know what? Thank you for reminding me. You know what? I completely forget about those kinds of things
Okay. And you can see that in their chart.
in their natal chart.
Do you cast a chart for the business, the birth of the business?
I
And do
do.
you use the transits with that chart or with the chart of the person who's got the business, the entrepreneur?
Depends.
Mm.
So if someone is the business,
Yep.
then I use the transits from their natal chart. However, jumping back to the concept of, say, a product-based business,
Yep.
right? And so you have manufacturing and you have people working for you and all that kind of thing. Well, the business can actually operate independent of you.
Yes.
So then I
Okay.
use the chart of the business.
Okay. And do you find one more effective than the other, or are they both pretty effective?
It's really a matter of like the nature of the business and which one is more effective. Now, even for my clients who do own larger businesses, I still look at their personal transits, because they're still a being, and there's things that they're going to want to know. So to give you an example, Nadine, um, their health is an important factor of how they function,
Yeah.
right? Does their health affect the business? Even if they have, say, 250 employees, yeah, their health affects the business because it affects how they think, how they feel about things, um, their ability to tackle problems and projects and that kind of thing. So that personal forecast is always part of it. It's just whether or not am I adding in the transits for the business chart. And like I said, if a business isn't big enough, or if the business is just the person, then there's no need to actually forecast for the business itself.
You've so you've talked about some specific, maybe this is time to get out in public if Mercury and Jupiter are making a or contacting each other. would you say?
Yeah, like a positive transit or a soft transit. Yeah.
Yeah, soft transit or Saturn, time to sort of look on your structures and whatnot. So there's kind of like the business and like taking action on the business, but there's also that personal like growth that someone goes through when they're making changes. So do you
Yeah.
help with you don't call it predictive astrology, what do you call it?
Well, I call it forecasting.
Forecasting. So you have a person, right, a client, and they
Mhm.
want to do a thing, and you look at their chart and you're like, no, that just does not fit. Do you have those experiences? And do you guide people away from them? Or is it usually already some kind of alignment and you just go, all right, let's look at the timing and how that might play out?
You'd be surprised at how often people are in alignment with what's already happening in their chart.
Oh, that's cool.
So even if someone doesn't necessarily think that they are responsive to the energy, a lot of times they are. And so a lot of times when my clients have an idea or they're looking to implement a change or they have a new goal or that kind of thing, a lot of times it is because there is some kind of energy that they are responding to
Okay.
that indicates that this is a good idea. Now, the go ahead is a little bit different because it kind of depends sometimes, right? Again, I have to go back to my client because, some clients are very focused and they're very diligent. So if they have something new come up, then they can probably swing it. Whereas sometimes, I have clients who are all excitement and not as great on the follow through. And so where does this new idea fit into the scheme of what they are trying to do? And it's never a do it or don't do it. I mean, unless they tell me something like completely ridiculous. And I haven't really had that, to be honest with you. Um, but rather it's often a case of when and whether this fits in alignment with their priorities. And I often find that when someone has a lot of transits happening, that this is when this kind of scenario can occur. And so this is when I always refer them back to what their priorities are and does this new idea, this new project, this change support and align with those priorities?
Yeah. Going right back to the natal chart and the person, can you determine, based on their natal chart, the type of work that they would be best doing?
Hmm. Yeah, there's always options. Let me put it to you that way, because there's never just one thing.
Yeah, okay.
So so you can look at a number of things in the chart, and then from there, it's really just a matter of uh, which archetype do they feel like living out?
Okay.
So what I will say is that the predictor of success is based on, what's the word that I'm looking for here? Integrity with one's being. It's hard to be successful in something that you don't have integrity within your being.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, um, the integrity with something can live a short while and then die, right? So this is why there are multiple things. And we were talking about the Uranus return
Yeah.
earlier, and oftentimes that is when someone is seeking to explore new archetypes within themselves, and that's why they make big shifts.
Okay. Yeah.
If they're done with the archetype that was, and it just no longer resonates with them, and they have this sense of cognitive dissonance, then yes, they will go on and make, some kind of life change, whether it's career, whether it's a move. a family change, that kind of thing, right? But jumping back to the natal chart, there's a number of indicators. So, one of the first and foremost that people often look to is they look at Jupiter. Why?
Okay.
Because of course he is the planet of fortune and abundance, right?
Okay.
So he can indicate where fortune and abundance come in, via the chart. And so when you look at the sign and the house position of Jupiter and any interactions that he's having with other planets, that can certainly give an indication of where not just financial success, but also I guess I could say like the philosophical fulfillment
Mm.
come from, because Jupiter also is the planet of benevolence, right? And when we feel that we can be benevolent to the world through what we do, we tend to succeed at it more.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So Jupiter is one of them. But another one that I often like to look at also is what's termed the Almutin figuris. Have you heard of this term, Nadine?
No.
Okay. So the Almutin of the chart is said to be the true chart ruler.
Okay.
So so if you go on the internet, if you look up chart ruler, very often they will either tell you that it is the ruler of the ascendant
Yeah.
or of the zodiac sign.
Yeah.
And that's actually an oversimplification of the process of determining the almutin of the chart.
Okay.
So the almutin of the chart is actually derived by basically doing some mathematics of the different planets in 5 different points, and each planet's relationship to these 5 different points. And often the almutin of the chart is the ruler of the ascendant or the ruler of the sun sign, but not always.
Oh.
So the almutin figuris itself translates as the figure of a winner. And
Okay.
it is the planet that is both your greatest strength as well as your greatest weakness.
Mm.
And I find it interesting. I was recently looking at studies, to see if there was any kind of mathematical correlation with astrology, and whether people could predict others' natures. And one of my um, so first of all, there wasn't really great evidence, unfortunately. But I think one of my issues with the studies that were conducted was that they weren't looking at the Almutin. They were simply looking at zodiac
Yeah.
signs, which
Okay.
is so inaccurate. Um, and given the fact that the planets could be anywhere, and like let's say your sun's in Leo, but you're towards the end of Leo, well, you could have a whole bunch of stuff in Virgo,
Yeah.
right? Or, take someone like myself who's a Gemini, but has the ascendant and moon in Sagittarius, along with Uranus, right? So it's like it's literally the complete opposite sign in my case, right?
Hmm.
So this Almutin figuris is very often the most resonant archetype within the self.
Okay.
And it is also a really great predictor of where you thrive and what you have to contribute to the world. Now, and that's in its guise as the planet of your greatest strengths, but also as the planet of greatest weaknesses.
Mm.
It also indicates the primary challenges that you're going to find along the way in being that benevolent force or that benevolent factor.
Okay. Am I going to be able to search that on the internet and make some
Totally,
calculations?
totally.
Yeah, that's going
Totally.
to
You know
take
what,
me down a
Nadine?
new rabbit hole.
Do you use astrological software?
Not yet, no.
No. Okay. Then I'm going to search up. I will send you a website
Okay,
separately
cool.
so that you can calculate your Almutin.
Okay, yeah, that would be very interesting. I've got Capricorn rising, so Saturn is the chart ruler,
Yeah.
and Aries sun.
Well, actually, I can just calculate it here. Let me just
Okay,
open
you
my
just put it
software.
in the software. I'm going.
This is fun. I love finding Almutins.
It's kind of yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's, like I said before, there's kind of a knowing when you hear things about your chart, or in my case, learning to read my own chart, or you looking at charts, or your own chart, even if you're not fully expressing it.
Yeah. The thing is, we grow into our chart.
Yeah.
So, again, another misconception of astrology is that people believe that it is a limitation. It's
Yes.
like a ceiling you hit. And and part of that comes from the astrology of other cultures.
Mm.
So for example, in Vedic astrology, you must appease the planets,
Okay.
right? And so they are limiters. However, if we go back to the older teachings of astrology, that is not the case. One of the words of Hermes Trismegistus himself was that as human beings, we were meant to surpass the gods.
Mm.
That is how much he believes in the power of the human spirit. And it would be lovely if we believed ourselves to the same capacity.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Nadine, tell me, when's your birthday?
Uh, April the 1st, 1974.
Right. Oh,
Do you do you use equal house system, or do you use a different system? Do you have
so I love Placidus.
okay.
And the reason I love Placidus is because to me, the angles
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
So, so north, south, east, and west all have special correlations.
Mm.
And and so it's not just that they have meaning in terms of the zodiac wheel or in terms of the chart itself. It's also that there's also energetic correlations, and so their actual location to me, absolutely means something, because those four directions are also the four titans who were the pillars of the sky.
Oh,
And
okay.
and so the Imum Quelli, as an example, is actually named after Coeus, who was one of those four titans and one
Okay.
of the four pillars of the sky. Now, Nadine, what time were you born?
3:23 a.m.
Oh, right. And where were you born?
I was born in a place called Honiton, Honiton, in Devon, England.
Here we go. I got it. And here we are.
Gonna have to. I will remember what you say, I'm sure.
Ah, okay. Your Almutin is Mars.
Oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. When I was going through my course last year, and
Yeah.
we did some sort of self-reflection journaling, and I actually said that I felt like Mars was kind of like ruled my like life, let's say, like that I was
Well, he
following
does.
Mars more, and yeah, I'm an Aries rising, but I feel like this I'm not Aries rising, Aries sun, but I felt like my personal self-expression was much more Mars than the sun. Yeah, there you go. I was onto it.
Yeah. Well, because what I was going to say is one of the points of the Almutin is actually where the ascendant is sitting, right? And so
Okay.
Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So you
Oh,
have the Aries sun. So of course Mars is strong there, but
yep.
then you have that Capricorn rising,
Mm,
and Mars is exalted in Capricorn. And
okay.
so just those 2 points alone, it certainly should have spoken to me. I wasn't thinking about it too much. I was talking, but would certainly incline me to think that Mars would have been uh, the likely candidate. Not the
Mm,
only
okay.
one,
Yeah.
but a likely one.
Okay, and I've also got Mars conjunct Saturn. So that's a
Yeah.
repeating theme, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's a loose conjunction, but it is
Yes,
there.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. There you go. Mars. Here we go. It's all, yeah, explains all that energy.
So there's a warrior in you.
There is a warrior in me. Yes, yeah.
Well, no wonder you're the midlife rebel.
Oh dear, it's not that simple though, is it? It's complex. And I think one of the roles that you play as an astrologer with the people you're working with is not just to find, have a look at their natal chart and help them understand their strengths, the challenges they may experience, which is often an invitation for personal growth, but also decision
Exactly.
making in their work. But you're more than that, really, because there's an accountability aspect, isn't there? There's not just like knowing, what your planets are doing and whatnot. It's like holding the person, guiding them,
Accountable.
and
Yeah.
holding them accountable. Because what happens? Can you talk us through what could happen if they, didn't have someone like you?
Well, so I used to do a lot of tarot readings,
Okay.
and this was really where I learned the lessons of accountability because when people hear that they have good fortune coming, they have this tendency to rest on their laurels.
Yes. Okay.
And they take good fortune for granted.
Mm.
And we can't really afford to do that in life. Here's the interesting thing, Nadine. People who have what you would call like an easy chart or a nice chart, well, if it's too nice, they tend not to move forward in life
Mm.
because everything is so easy. There's not enough challenge, there's not enough conflict for them to actually grow. So they tend to end up very complacent, actually.
Mm.
And and so when people are going through what I call, a lot of positive transits, a lot of times they don't dig their heels in to try and make the most of it.
Yeah. Okay.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, I used to be guilty of that when I was younger too.
Mm.
Part of all that I know and all that I work with is because I have applied these same tools to how I run my own business. And when you take good fortune for granted, well, then there's a lot that you're missing out. There's a lot of service that you're missing out on. There's people who aren't meeting you because you're letting something outside of yourself dictate whether or not someone meets you.
Mm.
So that accountability piece is really important. And it's not during challenging um, transits that I hold my clients so much accountable.
Okay.
Sometimes
Yep.
more so, I like to hold them accountable when they have the positive things going. And the reason why is because I want them to make the most of these positive transits so that they have something to fall back on, perhaps during harder times,
Mm.
that they can grow as much as possible when it's in their favor.
Yeah.
Often during what I would call the challenging transits, the accountability is more so helping them reflect, helping them encounter their own nature in a compassionate and non-judgmental way.
Mm.
It's harder to heal, to learn, to grow when you're judging yourself the entire way.
Yeah.
So the accountability piece there, it's still present, it's just softer. Because very often challenging transits are either corrective in nature, so there's things they want you to correct,
Mm-hmm.
or they are clearing.
Okay.
And so when you're going through either that correction or clearing, those are already difficult things. So you don't necessarily need somebody riding your behind, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's more that you need someone who's going to help guide you through that process and remind you of why you're doing it and
Yeah.
what it means, because the strength to confront it is already within you.
Yeah. And how far ahead would you be forecasting for someone? Is it 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, longer?
So at minimum, I do a year.
Okay. Yeah.
At minimum, I do a year, but I do meet with my clients. So like I'll forecast for the year.
Yep.
That's what we do at the beginning of the year. And then I will often meet with them at quarterly intervals
Mm-hmm.
so that we can focus on what's coming the next 3 months, and it keeps my clients refreshed because it's so easy to get in the weeds, so to
Yeah.
speak,
Yeah.
and to forget about what's happening. And it's a chance for them to check in and for me to remind them about their priorities and what's going to serve them, and to give them a bigger picture of the cycles that are happening so that they don't get lost, so they don't forget, and also so that they take advantage of what's ahead of them.
Yeah. So would you kind of look at the transits and compare it to the work they're doing and the plans that they're making? And then is there some kind of preparation? So if we're doing it as individuals, you might go, okay, so what are the possibilities of this transit? What might occur so that you're kind of in preparation? But when there's actual events that the person might be planning in their work or,
Yeah.
how do you help them prepare for that?
Oh, okay. So
Well,
this is again, yeah,
it's
this is where
deep,
their
but
goals really come into play, right? So, to give you an example, oftentimes because I'm working with with entrepreneurs, they are looking to write a book.
okay. Yep.
Right. So that's something that's been on their mind. It's one of the more common things that I encounter amongst my clients that they are looking to manifest. So and they come to me at various stages. Some of them have already written the book and have been looking for a release date, whereas others are just like they're right at the very beginning, they're stuck and they need to write it and they haven't made a move, right? So when I'm working with my clients and I understand what these goals are, such as writing a book or publishing it, I can look at timing of things.
Mm,
And they may not necessarily have what I would call larger transits, so transits of outer planets that give me like a larger time frame. But very often, I'll be able to find something that's going to work for that timing and release, right? Because there's always some kind of cycle active that
mhm,
can bring in the energy that you are seeking. And this is the beauty of astrology. So there's always some kind of divine timing because, to give you an example, Nadine, I had a client who was absolutely determined that this book needed to be released in April. It was a question of when.
okay.
She had other things lined up,
Hmm.
but this book needed to come out in April. Okay, well, then we're going to try and find some good timing on that. Let's take a look at what is active within your chart, and I'm going to find the right day for you,
That's so cool.
right?
Yeah.
Whereas other people, perhaps they have a little more flexibility.
Mm,
And in that flexibility, I can say, well, if you can just hold off 2 months, when Jupiter is trine Mercury, then that's going to be a great time to release and to put a lot of promo into it and to do like a book launch party and all these kinds of things. So when my clients have specific things that they want to do, I love working with that. One, because it tells me that they are thinking ahead and that they are trying to manifest from within themselves. And two, I get to support their vision.
mm.
that to me, that's important. My role is not to make their business. They
Yeah.
they know their business. They know what they're doing. I want to support their vision.
Mm. You talked about your own, how you use astrology in your own business. You've been doing astrology for a long time. How often do you look at the planets and the transits and your own chart, and use them in your own business and in your own personal life, your own personal growth?
All the time.
It's a thing, isn't it?
All the time.
And do you
There's
miss
there's
things, or do you and suddenly go, "Oh my God, I didn't see that," or are you pretty good at
yeah,
spotting stuff?
well, sometimes there's a lot going on.
Mm,
And so when there's a lot going on, sometimes it's easier to remember certain things over others,
yeah.
right? And also not everything impacts you the same way.
Mm.
So like today, lunar eclipse.
That's what I was going to say. Did you use that in your decision making for this interview?
Well, actually, I didn't book it. It was booked for me.
Maybe you wouldn't have booked it. Uh,
No, I still would have been okay with it,
okay.
actually. It's a good thing to talk about, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But today was a lunar eclipse. And you know, some people, they're in the feels.
Mm,
It's really hitting them.
yeah.
Other people, not so much.
Mm,
I'll be honest with you. I chose to work with it as a time of personal inventory and organization.
okay.
I caught up on old things. I crossed things off the to-do list.
Cool.
And that was how I chose to personally work with it, right? Because one of the beautiful things about the Virgo is that is this very thorough energy.
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas others may be experiencing this eclipse more so from a place of anxiety,
yeah.
right? Because Virgo does have those connections to the nervous system.
Does it,
And
could you
so
be scattered? Because that's how I feel. Like, I
yeah,
don't actually know where to focus my attention. I feel a bit like that. That can be a bit Virgo, can't it?
well, what I would say is how everybody has like that junk drawer that you just kind of throw stuff into?
Yes.
Yeah. So one of the things that it could do is it kind of takes the junk drawer in your mind and it pulls it out and it just dumps it on the floor so
Yeah.
that you reorganize everything and empty it.
Okay. Okay.
So that's the scattered.
Yeah.
The junk
It's an
drawer.
invitation.
Yeah, it's an invitation to reorganize
Okay.
what's up here.
Okay, that's good. Good to know. Good to know.
Like I said, every aspect, especially if it's a challenging one, which eclipses generally are considered to be challenges, it's
Mm.
either corrective or
Mm-hmm.
clearing.
Okay.
And those are very simple ways to look at it. But when you look at it from that lens, then you can begin to use it
Take
constructively,
action. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so emptying that junk drawer, well, that's clearing.
Yes.
It's either reorganizing or just getting it out of your
Getting rid
head.
of it. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. We're getting close to the end of our conversation, and I wonder if you would be able to share some insights on upcoming transits for 2026. I know that there's some big ones coming, but I'd love
Oh
to
my
hear
gosh.
your insights if you're open to it. That would be
Hmm.
amazing.
Well, we've had a couple of big ones that have actually just passed. And I think the one that, this year really marks a significant shift. So
Mm.
let me qualify that. 2026 marks a significant shift.
Yes, yes.
So especially for the last 7 years, but I could go back even further to the last 14. we've been in predominantly feminine dominant energy,
Mm.
earth and water.
Okay.
And now we had Neptune moving into Aries,
Yep.
January 26th, right? Saturn also entered Aries, February 13th. We already have Pluto in Aquarius. Uh, Uranus will be shifting again into Gemini and moving in more fully there. A lot of people are scared about that one. I think it's great, actually.
Well, you are
Um,
Gemini, so what's it mean for you? Right.
well, there's that, but for a lot of people, they're actually worried because it's
I know.
about the Saturn return, or sorry, Uranus return for the United States,
Oh, okay.
right? And then of course the Uranus Mars conjunction too, which
Mm.
they're a little bit worried about, which has had some I guess you could say explosive coincisions. But Uranus moving back into Gemini has always been a time where humanity has made leaps in terms of um, literacy,
Yeah.
intelligence,
Mm.
and our ability to communicate with one another.
Okay.
So, yes, I know, the United States is going to have its Uranus return, but that's not until 2027. But also, every time it's had a Uranus return, it's always become a better place.
Okay.
So, I'm not too worried about that. But what I particularly love for this year is that we are making that shift into the air and fire energy, which are
Mm.
masculine energies. And this is something that I think is really important for us because of course Saturn and Neptune are starting brand new cycles, right? But also um, the world has been very accepting of things that are substandard.
Mm.
And there's a lot of people who have been in an extremely receptive mode, allowing the environment to dictate what their life looks like.
Yeah.
So as we are now in the midst of 2026, with Neptune and Saturn having entered Aries, when Jupiter enters Leo later this year, um, people aren't going to be so content sitting on the sidelines and letting the world tell them what their life looks like or what it should be, or making it what it is.
Hmm.
That fire, that will, that desire to create, to forge one's own path, one's own livelihood, well-being. Um, I think that's important. We need our spirit back,
Mm.
and we need the warrior back, the part of ourselves that is ready to accept hardship, not for the sake of hardship, but rather hardship for the sake of building and creating beautiful, wonderful, positive things in your own life. The hardship that comes with building your slice of heaven on earth.
Mm.
And we need that will and that warrior spirit and fire in order to do that.
Mm. And do you think that people are going to be sensitive to that energy?
Oh, I think they already are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nadine, you would be surprised at how many people are about this close to quitting their job and they are not having a the
Oh, okay.
Uranus opposition.
They're just feeling that
There's
shift, that change, and like this is no longer working.
This isn't working for me. Someone else is dictating where my life can go.
Yeah.
If I'm going to work this hard, why maybe I should just take a gamble on myself.
Mm. That sounds pretty exciting to me with my Mars energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. If there's anything that you could leave us with, like as we do head into that cycle, any words of advice or preparation that the listeners might
Yeah.
need?
So I'm going to invite everyone, because there's that fire, that spirit, that desire to get out in the world and to kind of conquer it,
Mm,
to stake your own flag. But I'm going to invite you to embrace the spirit of foresight
okay.
and also embrace the spirit of preparation.
Mm,
Fire is a beautiful element. It is powerful. It is transforming. It can drive you forward, but it can also consume you.
right.
And it can be sudden. If you prepare properly, if you look ahead at where you're going, you are far more likely to be successful and to not feel burned by your own desires. Look before you leap, and not just look before you leap, prepare before you leap. Know where you're leaping, know what you need when you land, and where you're going. And if you can do that, then that fire will serve you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've loved it. It's so cool to yeah, be with you and have you share your amazing wisdom with us.
Oh, thank you, Nadine. I've had such a wonderful time
Yeah, it's so cool.
talking and connecting with you. It's been so much fun.
Thank you. Can't find my stop button. There we go.